The great thing about the Bible is it's set with incredible history, such as the letter written to the church in Thessalonica by the Apostle Paul, who wrote it in AD 49 to 51 from Corinth during his second missionary journey. Each missionary journey, and there was 3 of them, expanded the message of Jesus to more regions and people where they started communities of faith, the early church. Paul wrote 1 Thessalonians from Corinth, and it was near the end of this journey, his second one. Paul and his companions had established the church in Thessalonica, but were forced to leave by opponents of the gospel. Later, Paul sent Timothy back to Thessalonica to check on the church there, and Timothy's report led Paul to write this letter. Thessalonica enjoyed a privileged status as the capital of Macedonia, which is modern-day northern Greece, and was located on a natural harbour along the busy east-west Ignatian Way. These were often places where Paul established his churches because people would come and then they would disperse with this great message of Jesus. The Thessalonian correspondence in itself marks the probable beginning of Christian literature. In these 2 short letters, we already find characteristic features of the Pauline mission and correspondence. Paul's overriding concern is the identity and integrity of this community. He writes because he is not personally able to visit the church and his delegates' work needs further support. He needs to clarify misunderstanding or confront disaffection. We also find in this young community what we discover elsewhere in churches founded by Paul, that an enthusiastic reception of his message did not necessarily mean a thorough grasp of it. The book of Acts paints a fairly full picture of the events leading and preceding to the letters. Paul was imprisoned at Philippi at the start of his European campaign. He then went to Thessalonica, the capital city of Macedonia, and in the synagogue there proclaimed Jesus as Messiah. Some Jews were converted, along with even more God-fearing Greeks, and not a few of the city's prominent women. This success stirred other Jews of the city, unfortunately, to a jealous rage, and through seeking Paul, they hauled the convert Jason and some others before the city magistrates, charging Paul with reason in absentia because he said Jesus is a king. Paul was then sent by the Christians of Thessalonica to Berea, and there he enjoyed further success until the enraged Jews from Thessalonica came and again interfered, Acts 17:13. Paul left Timothy and Silas there and went on to Athens, and after a mixed reception in that city, he went to Corinth, which became his new centre of operations. And as during his stay in Corinth, Silas and Timothy joined him from Macedonia, and according to 1 Thessalonians 3, 2-6, Paul had sent them to the Thessalonians because of his anxiety for that community. The sending of the delegates in this situation shows you the function of Paul's emissaries. Timothy was sent to establish you in your faith and to exhort you. These are exactly the goals Paul hopes to accomplish by his letter. Because of the persecution being experienced by this young church, Paul had feared that the tempter would seize the opportunity to sway them. So Timothy's report gave Paul some reassurance, and he thanks God, for we now live if you stand fast in the Lord. The real issue we see is stability in the face of oppression. Paul does not write his first letter in response to an acute crisis, but wants to give support to the work already done by Timothy, exhorting the Thessalonians to live and please God just as you are doing. And this is why it's such a great letter to us, to keep living out our faith, to keep doing what we are doing. You know, the great thing about this letter is that you could imagine yourself hearing it. What I encourage you to do is to take 1 Thessalonians and read it out loud. Feel the rhythm, feel the pastoral heart of Paul writing to this community that he wants to see face to face.